said one word to me, and that was dead. I said to him, you can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometime, you'll find you get what you need. Because everybody loves the way he does the whoa thing with his arm, and that one became his signature. And he thought that he had stolen it from Eric Clapton, because he had seen Eric Clapton performing, and he did something like that. And when he finally got famous enough that they talked to each other, Eric goes, well, no, I was just stretching. He thought maybe he would be offended that he stole his move. What
a sensitive guy. I mean, how nice.
I thought that was funny.
He gave the credit. Didn't even know he had it. That's wild.
So that was all I have on my official list for tonight.
That's cool.
I
like that last one.
Play some of them some more. I know you have to leave at 8. There are, let me just see what other songs there were that we might do next week, so you know what to practice. So we still didn't learn the D minor 7th chord. That's the only one we didn't learn. Why don't I quickly show you that one? That's the one that's on Run Through the Jungle. And that's a minor chord with the 7, so it's 1, 3, 5, 7. It has kind of a jazzy sound, and it sounds like that. But I would not play it that way. If you learn this chord, this is a precursor to the F chord. So it has middle. Can you use one finger to hold down 2 strings on your first fret?
Get that muted sound.
Yeah. You're not getting a clear sound? See, what I'm kind of doing is actually tilting it so that I can smash them both.
Tilting the guitar?
Instead of being on the finger, instead of being perpendicular to the, or parallel, yes. More slanted.
Oh.
And see,
That's bringing the ring finger up on that third.
To get an F chord, you need only one more finger than that. It's that one.
Alright.
So I don't know if you can reach it from that position. That's why they usually use these.
It's this one here.
This as using both strings and then adding that. That's the F chord. And you can only play 4 strings. And it's probably the hardest chord to hold on the guitar. So we're not going to play any songs with that chord in it. But if you learn G minor 7, you can substitute it for an F chord and it'll sound almost the same. It's less fingers and less hard to play. But as this chord, you would have a D on the bass. And you could go down to A. And that's run through the jungle. I don't know the words, but it's on the DVD. So you could try this chord on there. It's in your chord sheet.
So that's a D7 in your alternating?
That's a D minor 7. DM7. That's the only D chord we didn't cover last week. Because there were so many varieties.
Is it even written down on the chord thing here?
Yep.
I see a D7, but there's
It,
D
all the
minor
D's,
7.
and there's D7, a D6, a D9. And
Oh, there it is. Oh, thanks.
How do you learn all these? Like actually know them?
the chords,
Yeah.
you just play lots of songs. And pay attention to the name of the chords you're doing once you get the shape.
Right.
And
You live and breathe songs
if
all day long.
if you're playing this chord and you go, what chord is that again? You can play your open strings and go, oh, it sounds like that one. It must be a D. Because that bass note is the name of the chord. So we can do for you Blue next time. Oyo Como Va is kind of fun to do. And that would be going from an A minor to a D7. Here, remember the D7 is the one that points the other direction. So when you go between that and A minor, you would keep your index finger where it is, and then just move those two. What?
Mi ritmo. Uno para gozar.
Oh yeah, I don't know how to say those words. Do you speak Spanish?
A little bit.
I do.
You speak a lot of Spanish?
I mean, it's not excellent.
Yeah, so I'll give you that song next time. It's kind of fun because it has this parts where you do this rhythmic thing like da, 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 da,
That goes D to D minor 7? No.
Well, if you have this sheet here, this tells the chords in the song, and it,
So what are the chords in there?
for Oyo Como Va, A minor and D7. So, and if you know these chords, you're free to try these songs on the DVD and see if you can guess when they change. If I've given you the song sheet, which is really good ear training. And you should do that with For You Blue. And
Before you blew, I have cold.
I,
Icy cold.
I got the first half of the class, the first 35 minutes, then something happened and everything crashed and I couldn't get it back up, so I'm missing about 15 minutes. Got it back up and running, and it's running really nice now. So, on my timer, even though Matt has to go, there's 9 minutes left.
and then
So
the
let's
other
just-
one on the list
Let's play something else, and we'll play Matt out the door.
that says G and D is all together now, but when I looked at it, it has also C chords, so it's a really 3-chord song. So maybe we'll do that one next time.
I'll figure that out.
Yeah, it was recently used on a cell phone commercial, so maybe you've heard it. But that one goes like 1, 1, 2,
3, 4,
and a
a little more.
5, 6, 7, Well, why don't you show me what you're
Yeah.
referring to, and then I can help you.
Like when you go from 5 to 4, like as soon as you pick your finger up.
Yeah, you
For
lose the
one
note.
thing,
Yeah. So how long do you hold it?
Oh, you never let go. You learn after a while to always keep your fingers, any fingers that are in front of other fingers, the others can stay there.
you can have all 4 fingers down, and you'll only hear the top one.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, so you could be holding both these notes, you know, this fret and this fret.
At the same time. Grab both notes. Okay.
Oh, but
And
you
then-
take the bottom.
So-
Yeah,
So
you'll
look,
hear
here
the
at-
ones that's furthest.
Let me show you. At the top, on the top string, I'm going to use the middle finger and the ring finger. One, 1 7 6 7 1 7 6.
Yeah, and my question.
Right. Then here, I'm going to put these 2 fingers down. So there's your 5 4 3 4. And you can go.
No, so I get that, but when you're going from 5 to 4, the 5 sounds like an abrupt ending.
Well, I'm saying you can hold on to it to the very last moment, and then when you go to pluck,
Gotcha.
pick your finger up.
Okay.
So it's a matter of timing, like comedy.
Yeah,
And
that problem, I'm surprised you mentioned that, because I noticed that when I was learning the violin, because you're bowing, and I couldn't get it to sound smooth going between the notes because I didn't have my finger and my bow synced together. So it sounds like the similar issue that you're having.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I met the guy who does last weekend I went out with some friends and I met the guy that, he fixes all the violins and bows for the symphony. He had like this just crazy life story of like working with violins. Like he fixes violins from like the 1500s.
yeah,
Roland Feller?
we're familiar with Roland Feller and all the crew over there. Yeah,
Oh, it was cool.
They're brilliant. They
Talk
used to-
about music.
I used to live on Hayes and Gulf Street, and across the street from me was Dorothy Starr's music store,
Right.
where she had all the really good publications of music, right? And then down the block was Roland Feller, the violin repair guys, right? And then I had a music school on the corner.
I'll do it.
It was beautiful.
Good night, thanks.
Night night. What you're talking about is what we call phrasing. And what I do is I take this simple exercise. And I just do it flat.
Try to get it to sound smooth.
And then I go long, short, long, short, long, short.
Cool.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, because it's not always just about how you attack the note.
And then
it's
I'd
how
go,
you let go of it or how
Then you
stop
try
it.
short, long, short, long, short, long. Right? Then I try loud, soft.
Cool. Thank you.
And then
Yeah.
soft,
That's
loud.
how you master any instrument is be practicing that kind of stuff, phrasing and loud and soft.
Yeah, and some pieces of music are nothing but phrasing.
Right.
Like bum ba dum ba bum ba bum ba bum ba bum ba bum ba bum Humpty Dumpty Humpty Dumpty Humpty Dumpty Humpty Dumpty Humpty Dumpty Humpty Dumpty boom boom bang, and it should sound like a strip show, right? But others da 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 dum ba dum ba dum ba dee dum.
Right.
So the accent's on the second beat, and it makes things flow. So depending on the tapestry or texture that the composer is trying to develop, you use a certain figure and orchestration, and you'll say use this phrasing. And if you use that phrasing, and it has to do with loud, soft, long, short, fast, and slow. Those are the only 6 things you can do. There's only really 3, and they're opposites, right?
Right.
So you try those on any pattern you know how to play, You try those different things just mathematically. So you try them all, and what happens is your ear gets to hear them and your body gets to feel what it's like to play them.
Cool.
And after you're doing it for a while, you can switch into that mode by going for that feeling. The feeling gets associated with the phrasing, and then you stop thinking about the fingers and the symbols and you start listening for that sound that you've learned to recognize because you took the time with a pencil and paper to just say 2 notes, 4 phrasings, 4 times 2 is, okay, I'm going to try all the possibilities. And then you sit down and you take a simple pattern like, just a simple pattern, and you try it with different phrasing. Or, and until you get used to hearing what it sounds like, and then sort of, what I do is I sort of put an emotional tag on it. That makes me float. That sounds like, I put terms like that's chalky. My favorite is when I add thirds on the top of a chord, I say, oh, that's very chalky. Okay, if you take and add fifths to the thing, I'll say it's very red. You know, and it's kind of like blood red, not just red, it's like military industrial red. It's like marching thing. So I associate different emotions with different types of sounds, and then I practice getting any kind of sound I can as an experiment. They call that an etude, and some composers used to write those experiments down, and they're called etudes. And
Which basically means exercise.
exercise. All the etudes that any composer has ever written was just sitting and noodling out or figuring out
Sort of like
something
drills.
that they heard, and they said, oh, that's interesting, and it makes me feel this way, and they wrote it down on a little piece of paper. Then they went back to it later and they said, I can write an entire piece of music around this idea. And they'll write a whole
Usually a
2-minute
short
piece.
piece.
Usually 2 minutes. They're lyrical. They're what we call
Uses
lyrical.
one
They're
idea, yeah.
short.
Gotcha.
And,
Thank you.
and it's still working. Yeah, so any pattern, or just take the scale. Da, 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 da. Take that pattern and go da 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 da, or da 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 da. Da, 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 la 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 la. Try different ways of emotionally stating the same thing. Another thing that really helps is your subconscious mind knows exactly what you have to do physically
Right.
to get something. If you can clear up aesthetically and emotionally exactly what you're after, okay? So you say, I'm playing Twinkle Star, but I want it to be happy. And you have an exact idea of what happy is. Bum, bum, beep, 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 bum, beep, 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 bum, bum. You know, you've got an idea of that. Okay, this time I want it to be sad. And I want it not just to be sad, I want it to be boringly maudlin. Boringly maudlin. Dum, 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 bum, 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 bum. I want it to be schizophrenic. Bum, bum, boom, beep, bum, beep, bum, boop, bum, boom, bum, bum, boom, beep, bum, bum, beep, bum, bum, bum. Now, if you could play that on a guitar, it would be an amazing technique. And the thing is, you don't have to worry about what you're doing with fingers if you have a clear idea what you're listening for, like catching a fish. You have to decide what fish you want to catch.
Right.
So, and that all boils down to phrasing. 6 simple words. You just use those 6 words when you're playing and say, I'm going to do it legato, I'm going to do it staccato, I'm going to do it loud, I'm going to speed up, I'm going to slow down. Now, I'm going to make it happy, make it sad, make it dance, make it lay down, fall asleep, shoot it, resurrect it.
Hammer on, hammer off.
Yeah, every technique you say, oh, that feels like this.
Fast, slow.
And then after a while you just say, I want to feel this way, and you play a melody, and those feelings, the phrasing gets superimposed onto the melody. The best players are the ones that aren't thinking about the fingers or the
Autopilot,
notes or
they just
anything.
will it,
They know the
feel
song
it.
so well, they play the song 1,000 times. So now that's not a question of whether they can get through the song.
Right.
It's how they feel that night and who they're with and what those other people are doing to them emotionally. And the really good players are adding a lot of shtick to the same old thing they've been doing for a long time and improvising little stuff off of
Embellishing.
yeah. Having a different emotional point of view because they're there reacting with those people in a way they've never felt before. And that's the most amazing thing about the best jazz musicians and the best improvisers. So you hear people like, I've heard Tommy Emmanuel thousands of times. And in all the time I've heard him, I must have heard him play Over the Rainbow 100 times.
An expression.
I never heard it the same way all 100 times. Over a 10-year period of time, I heard it 100 times by Tommy. And I can recall 2 nights when it made me cry and knock my socks off. He was so inspired, something good had happened, and he brought that with him. He was on it in a way no one on earth had ever been on it before. And I heard Over the Rainbow played by, and I still remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, so out of the 100 performances, there's 2 of them that he did that I remember because even he was, blowing his own mind, and then went with it. He knew he was so good that night. He started doing things he wanted to do. See, so that's what you do. You build your technique up by deciding emotionally what you want to do and aesthetically what you're after. So you have an emotional handle to
Manifest it.
file it.
Express it.
The filing system our brain uses is association, like a thesaurus. See you.
Bye.
So we remember things. We remember things because we have an emotional reaction. That emotional reaction releases specific types of chemicals, mostly adrenalines of various sorts, and proteins and oxygen to get the body going woo when it gets excited, and that creates a memory, not only in your brain, but in several other locations. The muscle memory, right? The coordinative mechanisms, your kidneys, which balance you,
And the
and
adrenals
how that was in relation to all 5 of your senses, in relation to the room acoustics and whether the guitar was tuned especially that night. And what happens is all that basically is affecting what you're hearing if you're just concerning yourself with the sound and emotionally what you want to create.
Sounds like a myriad of properties.
But you have to practice the technique in order to release the ability to have the technique by exercising.
Right.
Calisthenics. Doesn't matter what they are or how they are. The best calisthenics are the ones in which you sit down with a pencil and paper and you plan out every possibility of a particular phrase that you can think of and try them all. And while you're doing that, you listen to them carefully so you're inspired and you free associate new ones. You invent new ones on the spot. If you're smart, you'll write them down, put them in a notebook. If not, let them go by, and then, etc. That's the creative process. So you work at mundane things to develop the muscles and the brain to be able to get in contact with those nerves, which are moving those muscles, and then to map it into various memory locations, more than one. And the more memory locations you have, the more you'll remember it.
Better chance you can hit it.
So you've got these 80-year-old Alzheimer's patients who can't remember who they are, where they are, or who their kids are, or the people that are standing in front of them, but you start singing a pop tune, and they're humming right along.
Teresa's dad, 94, he's starting to forget who his children are.
Right, there you go.
They ask him to whip out the harmonica, and he can play every single note.
Every note, every song ever, because it's stored in a different location, and in more than one location. Okay, so the parts of the brain that are not falling apart, which have to do with motor control, or, because he's not having Parkinson's, he's just forgetting. So that part of the brain can't relate to text or picture recognition, but melody, rhythm, absolutely. Harmonic tone and texture.
Non-volatile brain structure.
Or just even emotional contour. Right, just expressing an emotional contour symbolically. Those parts of the brain are probably still active, and so
more primal, more non-volatile.
So the music has to be practiced in a way in which you cover enough bases to be able to release any possible technique that you might have, and then you have to play a lot of tunes and express them in different ways and start kind of creating build up a little checklist of these feelings, these emotions, these ideas, these things, and how that technique and that attach, and then in a performance, release it all. Just let the hounds go. Let them run over the territory. Okay, they know the drill, and that's the creative process. So in the end, you have to give it up to your subconscious, but you have to be conscious of the process of releasing the technique.
In order to map it in properly,
And
so you can dial it up.
Any system of order will work. If you're a pencil and paper guy, fine. If you want to make an Excel spreadsheet, good.
So you're
If-
saying